So on my golf drills and tips series, I got a request by Jeremy to cover approach shots. And since I just played a par 3 course, I have a lot of experience that's very much on my mind right now about approach shots from what I know and from what I forgot about and didn't do well today. So I'm going to reflect over what I did and then what I learned from today, and then as well as research I've done after the round, especially to just teach myself what I should have done better. So research on what the pros are doing currently for approach shots as well, some good habits, and then tips along the way. So an approach shot is going to be your green and regulation shot. It's typically your second or third shot. If it's a par 4, it's going to be your second shot because you're approaching the green and your goal is to be on the green in regulation to 2-putt and make your par and move on. It's fun to go on the PGA Tour and the LPGA Tour's website to read the stats of green and regulation by their athletes. Really impressive stuff, high numbers obviously. So let's dive into what they do to make sure they're on the green and putting in regulation. The first thing is they know their yardages. Now, approach shots can be anywhere from 200 yards out as well, depending on how long the hole is. And for pros, they typically have 200 yards into the pen still because they're playing such long distances, but they're still on the green with that 200-yard shot. But sometimes I have approach shots that are about 100-yard shots or 80-yard shots. And today in the par 3 course, I specifically learned my lesson about distances because I had a lot of holes that the tee box was set up at 80 yards out. I have a 56 and I could not hit that as a full swing. It would fly the green. So I was in between a half swing or a quarter swing with my 56 degree. I didn't do my homework and figuring out how far back I should take my club in order to know how far I wanted that wedge to go. So first thing is to know your yardages, know your wedges, and especially those shorter distances, because if you hit a bomb drive and you're 100 yards out, but you don't know what club to use, you can really mess up the hole and the score for the hole because you just didn't have the yardage right or know how far back to take that wedge. A lot of times pros don't use their wedges for their full capacity. They only take half swings with their wedges because there's really no need for them to try to take a full swing at their wedge. So the first tip on approach shots is know your distances. The second tip is to warm up, because if you know your distances, but you come to the course without stretching or without warming up at all, and you don't hit any shots on the range, then your body's gonna take a few holes to get adjusted to the round and to swinging, and those yardages could be off because your body feels tight. So I recommend going to the range before your tee time if you have time for it, and practicing those distances that you typically see as your approach shot on the course. The ranges are typically marked out with yardage markers and how far you can hit, but also I recommend bringing your rangefinder and finding specific targets that are more in line with what you'll be seeing out on the course. So we have knowing your yardages as the first one. Second tip is going to be get warmed up, so stretch and feel like your swing feels really smooth for those shots that are for your approach distances. And then the third is going to be your pre-shot routine. And underneath the pre-shot routine, there's actually quite a few little checkpoints to keep in mind as tips as you're hitting those approach shots. So the first one's going to be to notice your environment and assess your surroundings. What is the wind doing? Where is your ball sitting? So what's the lie of the ball? Is the ball in the grass or is it sitting up on top of the grass? Because if it's on top of the grass and you can hit the ball first, you're going to have solid distances. But if it's in the grass, you might want to club up, knowing that the grass is going to get between your ball and the club. So it's not going to go as far. Also notice, are there any bunkers around the green or water hazards that you need to keep an eye out for? Are you on a hill? Because if you're on a hill, that will affect the way that you aim your club. So the first step of your pre-shot routine should be just assessing the surroundings. Stand up to your ball, see what's happening and what you need to take in consideration before your shot. Once you've assessed your surroundings, you're going to pick a spot on the green that you want your ball to land. This does not mean the hole. We rarely want to pin seek when you're playing golf. Pros actually hardly ever aim for the hole or the pin because they know the green is undulated. It's not a flat surface. The ball's going to be rolling towards the pin. So even if it is a super flat surface, they're not aiming at the cup because then the ball is going to roll past the cup. We want the ball to land before the cup and roll into the hole. So taking that into consideration, you want to take a good look at the green and which way it's breaking if you can see it from how far you are out. Typically on approach shots, you can see the undulation of the green, but a lot of courses offer yardage books, which have a map of the green on each hole, and that's really helpful as well. So at Mountain Shadows, where I played today, the yardage book had the map of the green and it had where the breaks were in the green, which really helped me assess where I wanted to aim to have the ball land and then roll closer to the pin. Once I figured out where I wanted the ball to land, I chose my target. So the target might not have been on the green because in a lot of cases today, I didn't have a chance to see the exact target, but I knew the line I wanted the ball to travel on and how close I wanted the ball to land to the hole. That also decides how high up I need to hit the ball in the air, because if I had a lot of green to work with before getting to the pin, then I can obviously hit the ball a little bit lower trajectory and then let it roll out towards the cup. But if I had the pin in the front of the green, then I need to tee up the ball a little higher if I had the chance to tee it up. Of course, on approach shots, you're not teeing it up, so you just have to think about clubbing up a little bit, maybe opening the face tad, making sure you get under it, so that way the ball can actually have a lot of loft to it, and then the descent angle is going to be more steep, so it doesn't roll out as much. So once I had that line picked out and that spot on the green I wanted the ball to land, then I need to choose my aim point. And today my aim point was actually in the sky a lot of times, or on a tree behind the green, because I couldn't see the exact location on the green. I personally like to pick a tiny target that's just beyond the green or in the sky, that's in a stationary spot. So a tree or mountaintop was really helpful in Arizona. And I like that because I like to visualize the ball flying towards that target in the sky. It just helps me visualize the ball actually getting off the ground and into the air. That way I'm not accidentally lifting up and then thinking about the ball like, rolling on the ground towards the pin. Don't want that. I want to aim and see the ball fly in the sky. So that leads us to our next point, visualization. So once you know what club you're using, the distance, once you have a good idea of where you want the ball to land, then you can actually execute your shot in your mind first. So visualize how you want the ball to fly through the air, exactly what it's going to do, and then visualize it rolling into the hole. So once you visualize your shot, you can actually now execute it confidently because you feel good about all the information you've taken in to consideration. You've planned for your shot, you know where you want it to end and what you want it to look like. So now all you have to do is trust it and execute it. Which leads us to our last point, is your practice swing. And the practice swing is really just to feel the shot, get the nerves out before stepping up to the ball and actually hitting the ball. So recommend doing a practice swing first to feel that. And for me today, my practice swing was really just that feel of how far back I wanted to take my club. Because for the wedges I was using, I didn't need to take a full swing, but I needed to practice how far back I was going to take it, so then that way I didn't overshoot on my yardage. And my last point for approach shots is the positive mindset when executing the shot. There can be a lot of things we take into consideration and then fixate on those thoughts instead of what we want the ball to do. So on the golf course for me today, I allowed my putting to get in the way of my approach shots or my tee shots for today because I was thinking about previous shots and how I needed to make up for that 3-putt I just had. And so I had to get this really close so I don't have to worry about my putting. And those thoughts were really a detriment to me today. And that negativity, I can even watch my shots back on YouTube and I can see where I was just not very positive. If I made a par, I was like, oh, I needed that. I had to do that anyways. It wasn't a celebration. And then for each hole and each shot, it's really, even if it's a good one or a bad one, you just gotta leave it where it's at. Move on to the next shot, move on to the next hole, and then focus on what's really in front of you, which is what I love about golf. It makes you stay in the moment. To do well, the pros know their mental game is super important, and staying present in what's the execution of that one shot that's in front of you is a really good skill to really hone in on and then apply it to all areas of life. So in summary for approach shots, we want to do your homework. Make sure that you're prepared for the shot by knowing the distances that you can hit your wedges, your irons, your woods, and not just a full swing, but also like a half swing or a knocked down shot as well. Next is to assess your surroundings. So take a look around to see what hazards are there and what you should do if you're on a hill and what you should do if there's wind, all of those things that might affect the ball flight. You want to take that into consideration before you go on to your next point, which is choosing your aim spot and lining up correctly. So that's typically not aiming at the pin, but it's aiming for the ball to roll into the cup or spin next to the pin, but plan out your shot and then trust it. So positive mindset, visualizing that shot first, doing your practice swing to get the nerves out and to really feel it, and then executing it. If you have questions on approach shots, please put them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. If not, I'll research what the pros are doing so then that way I can answer it correctly. And as I've said, I'm studying the game as well. So I'm reflecting on my game. I'm sharing my experience with you through other videos where I play and I reflect on each shot as I hit the shot so you can see it in real-time action to what I'm learning. I apply it to the course. And then I have a whole series going on right now of drills and tips that apply to the golf game. So if you have any requests, please make sure you comment them on one of those videos so I can see it and then make a video for you. Thank you for watching and have a great day.